Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to All Things Division 3 Soccer with Simple Coach and Jackie. I am Simple Coach. And what? Where'd Jackie go? I gave her a treat because she was scratching at the door, which usually means she wants a treat or to go outside, but she's just been outside, so I'm not going to take her out again. So on this episode of Injured Time, I thought I would dive into something that I've been thinking about for a while, and it just seems like good timing to talk about it. And I mean particularly about leadership, and that's sort of the subject of this, and in particular leadership of Major League Soccer. And the only reason why I want to talk about this is because I think it might reflect sort of, everyone's talking about an inflection point, but around MLS decision to want to get out of the U.S. Open Cup, what that means for the federation and its authority and whatnot. And I think it's a little bit of a broader inflection point around Major League Soccer, U.S. soccer, and leadership of soccer in the United States. So I just wanted to talk about that for a while. This is going to be almost like a no frills. Maybe it's like an editorial. I don't know. But so with that, let me just sort of get rolling. So as I mentioned, I just think this whole kerfuffle around the U.S. Open Cup highlights something that was inevitable, and I think that it's just a little bit bigger than the Open Cup. Now, Commissioner Garber, Commissioner of Major League Soccer, like it or not, is going to go down in the annals of U.S. soccer history as probably one of, if not the most consequential individual in the sport. And he's going to join the likes of, Werner Fricker and Alan Rothenberg and Sunil Gulati. Again, not casting judgment good or bad, but these folks had some major impacts on the way we have the game, this current state of the game. And in particular around Commissioner Garber, if you look objectively at what he's done since he joined MLS in 1999, I mean, it is quite nothing short of remarkable. Who'd have thunk it, right? He effectively took a moribund league and made it into what it is today. And, some of the things he did, and again, some of it is big, some of it's not so big. He aligned MLS with international standards. He grew the league. The league originally had 12 teams. He cut 2. So he took the league from 10 teams to 29 and then 30 in a year, next year with San Diego. Give or take, I think the clubs themselves, the 29 clubs, effectively generate collectively probably $2 billion in revenue. Which is remarkable, and that doesn't talk about what MLS as a league has done and Soccer United marketing and all of that. Equally consequential, he's been the champion for the development of 26 soccer stadiums in the United States and Canada, and some of them are, rank globally in terms of soccer venues. And to his credit, I think this speaks to the long-term vision he had and the importance of soccer clubs having their own stadiums. I'd throw in all the development academies in MLS and are direct result of his leadership. And I think, again, you can quibble and we can argue details and is it good, is it bad? Like these are consequential things that were big deals, right? Probably the most consequential one and might be responsible for where we are today, Major League Soccer, and everyone agrees, I think. He created Soccer United Marketing, well worth a few $1 billion based on its partnerships with the Mexican national team and formerly the U.S. Soccer and whatnot. So, he signed, again, like it or not, Apple TV and the sponsorship deals that are, given probably make MLS, I guesstimate, I don't know, $1 billion a year in additional revenue, which is pretty significant. And then I don't think he gets enough credit for it, but I think he did an incredible job managing the league through COVID, right? Like that was a pretty rough thing, and I think he led. Whoa. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. I think he did an incredible job managing the league through COVID. Quite a challenge, and I give him credit for that. And I think there's a lot of other things he goes on. I mean, on a personal level, I think, he dealt with and is managing his cancer diagnosis, and on a personal level, I think that's fantastic, and use that as a platform to help and get other people to be aware of prostate cancer. And I think that sort of thing is just fantastic. And I think the list does go on. And I think there's things that we see and that we don't see that are probably there as well. And that's not saying that everything has been, unicorns and rainbows and along the way. But I will say this year strikes me as something different. And I don't know if it's the pressure of the Apple TV deal or what. But it strikes me that this year in particular, MLS is forced to reckon with a number of challenges that are part of this big thing we call soccer in the United States. There is a room for discussion around the continued professionalization of referees, right? And so I don't think it's just a lockout of referees. I think it's a little bit bigger discussion. But that's where we are with that. And then the obvious one that is clear and present is just sort of the non-decision around playing in the U.S. Open Cup. And I say this in the backdrop that, and I think to a certain extent justifiably so, right? I think the involvement and influence and benefits that Major League Soccer has received over the years are numerous. And like I said, I totally understand why. I'm not painting a fantasy picture or thinking that they're super evil for doing so. I get it. But one of the great things about soccer that is unique to the sport in the United States is its global nature, right? Like, there is this sense of, regardless of what's happening, right? And regardless whether you're for something, against something, you want this, you want that. Oh, this could be better, this could be worse. And this guy's evil, that guy's great. There is a sense of, among the soccer community, of solidarity and understanding that soccer has to grow at all levels. And everyone has to be better. Right? It's just, I think that's the thing. And, and and this is where I think Commissioner Garber has failed consistently. And now, don't get me wrong, I understand he is responsible solely for Major League Soccer and basically his 62 bosses on the board, right? The board of governors, right? That's the reality, right? If he doesn't keep those guys happy, he's not going to be having a job much longer. For the expectations of the U.S. Open Cup and all that is involved, I think this is an opportunity for MLS to really show its connection to the U.S. soccer community, and he chose otherwise. And I say this because I think it's unfortunate. I think he's chosen a path that neglects the good of the game for, right, increased partnership with Mexico, who I think Mexican professional leagues need help. And, MLS wanting ratings and MLS wanting to control, I don't know if that's the right word, the whole Messi mania and tap into that as best it can. And the U.S. Open Cup is clearly not that. And it doesn't give them that opportunity. And I say that somewhat not happy, right? Like I think wherever we are now, like it or not, I think Major League Soccer has a very important role to play in terms of leadership. And when it turns its back on this broader soccer world that we live in, it does so to its own detriment. And I mentioned earlier, and this has all had me wondering about the nature of leadership and leaders being made for their time, right? Like, and unfortunately, if you study leadership, invariably they can stay on the scene way too long if they're not adapting and moving. And now, I'm not a fan of calling for resignations and all that kind of stuff, but it has me wondering if it's not time for someone to lead Major League Soccer who might take us into a new era where we're thinking more in terms of a unified approach to the game. Like I said, like it or not, MLS has a role in all of this. And it's not going away. It's not, right, like you're not going to create another entity and you're not going to create, like that's just not going to happen. Well, I'll just say personally, I just don't see it happening. And I get that he's not beholden to the rest of the soccer in the U.S., but in a way he is, right? That's the nature of soccer. It's a global game. The connections to each other, right, from FIFA all the way down to the youth clubs. There's this tissue of connectivity that exists, and I think to ignore it is a bad thing. And truthfully, Major League Soccer succeeds because the rest of soccer is successful. And now, I already made my pitch to save the Open Cup and get MLS to it, so I'm not going to belabor that. But I'll just wrap up by saying that I think this is the time for MLS to take a leadership role in the world of soccer for the benefit of soccer in the United States, and not just for the benefit of itself. And I'm just wondering, does Commissioner Garber have that within him to do? And as of right now, I'll just say I'm not quite sure that he does. So, that's it. That was my editorial. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Any comments down below? Comments, concerns, call me crazy, whatever you want to do. That's fine. I'm always responsive. So, thanks, and hope you have a wonderful day.